The ICU of Orbital Station Aegis 9 smelled of antiseptic and artificial lilac. It was a smell designed to hide the scent of dying, but Dr. Maddox Dunn had been smelling it for 30 years. He didn't mind it. It was the smell of order. He adjusted the flow of biogel on a small, trembling alien child, a lintar. The creature looked like a ball of wet wool with large, fearful eyes. Dr. Dunn, soft and soothing, said, "Easy, Pip. The gel is cold, but it knits the shell. You'll be walking in an hour." The station was a neutral zone, a sanctuary. Weapons were left at the airlocks. Then, the floor jumped. A concussive thud vibrated through the soles of Maddox's boots. The lights flickered, replaced immediately by the amber strobes of the breach alarm. The PA system, robotic and calm, announced, "Hull breach. Sector 4, unauthorized docking. Security containment failed." Maddox didn't run. He simply locked the wheels on Pip's biobed. Down the pristine white hallway, the blast doors hissed open. They weren't patients. 6 massive figures stomped in. They were Vark raiders, reptilian mercenaries with rusted armor and plasma rifles. They didn't look at the doctors. They looked at the wounded soldiers in the recovery ward. The leading Vark, a scarred brute named Commander Rax, laughed. The sound was like gravel in a blender. He raised his rifle and fired a casual shot into a bed occupied by a comatose soldier. The smell of burnt ozone and cooked meat instantly overpowered the lilac. Maddox walked out of the ICU pod. He stood in the center of the hallway. He was a balding man in his 50s, wearing a blood-stained apron over his scrubs. He looked harmless. Maddox, projecting his voice calmly, said, "Commander, this is a neutral facility. You are violating the Galactic Medical Accords." Rax lowered his rifle and sneered at the small human. Commander Rax, mocking and aggressive, said, "Accords? You humans in your paper shields? Stand aside, flesh bag, or I add you to the pile." Maddox didn't move. He adjusted his glasses. He looked at the smoking hole in the patient's chest, then back to Rax. Maddox, voice dropping an octave, deadpan, said, "There is a quote from Old Earth's show. Good men don't need rules. Today is not a good day to find out why I have so many." Rax stepped forward, towering over the doctor. He shoved Maddox hard, sending the human stumbling back against a supply cart. Commander Rax, growling, said, "You threaten me? You are a healer. You take oaths to do no harm." Maddox straightened his apron. He reached behind him onto the supply cart. His hand closed around the grip of a pneumatic osteodriver, a heavy industrial tool used to drive titanium pins into dense bone. It connected to a compressed air hose with a sharp hiss. Maddox, completely devoid of emotion, said, "The oath is not a law, Commander. It is a leash, and you just cut it." Rax raised his rifle, but he was too slow. Maddox didn't swing the heavy tool, he punched with it. He drove the muzzle of the osteodriver into the soft gap of Rax's armor, right under the armpit. Thump! Hiss! The tool fired a 6-inch titanium spike at 900 psi. It severed the brachial artery and shattered the ribcage. Rax didn't scream, he just gasped, a wet, confused sound, and dropped his weapon. The other 5 Vark roared and raised their guns. Maddox moved with the terrifying economy of a surgeon. He didn't run around, he pivoted. He ducked under a wild plasma shot and stepped into the guard of the second alien. Maddox, whispering to himself, said, "Femoral cluster. Left leg." The Vark collapsed as his leg bone shattered. Maddox grabbed a heavy oxygen canister from the cart and swung it. It wasn't a clumsy brawl, it was calculated physics. The canister cracked the visor of the third alien. Maddox stepped over the twitching body of the commander. He walked toward the remaining 3, the pneumatic hose dragging behind him like a tail. The Vok were warriors, but they were fighting a man who knew exactly how their bodies worked, and exactly how to stop them from working. One Vok charged. Maddox sidestepped, grabbed a scalpel from his pocket, and jammed it into the exposed neck gills. Maddox, monotone, said, "Pneumothorax imminent. You will suffocate in 30 seconds." The hallway was now a mess of blue blood and twitching bodies. Maddox stood over the lost Vok, who was crawling backward, terrified of the harmless human. Maddox pointed the osteo driver at the alien's forehead. Maddox, cold and flat, said, "Sedation administered." Thump, hiss. Silence returned to the hallway, heavy and wet. The only sound was the hiss of the air hose and the distant wail of the breach alarm. Maddox stood still for a moment, his chest heaving slightly. He looked down at his apron. It was soaked in blue gore. He took a deep breath, compartmentalizing the violence, locking the monster back in its cage. He detached the osteo driver from the air hose and placed it gently back on the cart, next to the gauze. He walked back to the ICU pod. Pip, the Lintar child, was peering over the edge of the biobed, shaking. Maddox wiped a splatter of blue blood from his cheek with a sterile wipe. He forced a small, tired smile. Maddox, gentle and soft, said, "Apologies for the noise, Pip. Just some aggressive negotiations." He tapped his comms badge. Maddox, weary tone, said, "Maintenance to Sector 4. We have a spill, and send the morgue crew. I have 6 donors." He picked up the datapad, then went back to work.